The Storm is a very satisfying Javelin to play. Its air superiority coupled with unmatched crowd control makes for a very unique playstyle, but sometimes it feels a little bit dull. But what if it was possible to take a faster, more aggressive approach to battle with the Storm? That's what we're going to experiment with in today's build. Let's get started. Each of Anthem's Javelins has an intended playstyle, and the Storm is meant to hover and rain death from above without getting its hands dirty. Well, I like to get messy and I like to go fast, so everything in this build is going to encourage a snappy, agile playstyle while taking advantage of what makes the Storm powerful. The Storm is an excellent primer, so our first ability is going to be one of the best, Binary Star. This is the masterwork version of Living Flame. It sends out 2 target-seeking projectiles that damage enemies it touches and applies the burn status to them. The initial damage of Binary Star is low, but the damage over time from burn is high, and because it primes multiple enemies, it'll set up for a lot of combos. To take advantage of all those primed targets, I'll be using the Black Ice Focus Seal, the masterwork version of Glacial Spear. This ability received a huge buff in patch 1.0.4. Its additional effect, hitting an enemy with all 3 hits of the ability freezes all enemies in a small area around the target hit. This means Black Ice is a primer and a detonator. So if I use the ability on a burning target, it will detonate the burn while also freezing the target which primes it. That prime can then be detonated by the Storm's melee. Now, we've got a really strong foundation here, but we can make things a lot better with components. Since I plan on meleeing a lot to detonate combos, I want to up my survivability. The Softened Blows universal component and the Vanguard token will give me some extra defenses. Softened Blows provides more shielding than other universal components, and its additional effect, on a shield break, damage resistances are increased by 75% for 5 seconds. The Vanguard's token increases health, or armor as they call it in this game, by 25%, and the shield break increases damage resistance by 40% for 10 seconds. With this combination of components, the Storm is literally invincible for 5 seconds after a shield break. But even so, I don't like to push my luck too much. 5 seconds isn't a lot of time, so on a shield break I use the extra resistances to leave combat and let my shields recover. With our defenses shored up, we can use the rest of our components for damage. Patch 1.0.4 also made some changes to the Storm's token of the Daring, and it's got great synergy with the aggressive playstyle I'm looking to create. It increases elemental damage by 35% and reduces physical damage by 35%, and on a shield break, it refreshes all gear cooldowns. Our shields will be breaking a lot, so our abilities will get refreshed very consistently by this component. Next up, the Gunslinger's Mark is making a return. I use this in all of my Storm builds because it's amazing. It increases gear recharge rate by 50% and reduces gear damage by 20%. Its additional effect, hovering, increases all weak point damage by 60%. This affects guns and abilities. The next component is Mark of Wrath. I wasn't a big fan of it until it received a huge buff in patch 1.0.4. It increases gear damage by 50% and lowers gear recharge rate by 20%. This is the inverse effect of the Gunslinger's Mark, and together they net plus 30% gear damage and plus 30% recharge rate. Mark of Wrath's new additional effect, detonating a combo, creates a large electric explosion. The explosion isn't actually that big, but its damage is substantial and makes the Storm's combo detonations a bit more valuable. The final component is Mark of Ruin. It increases fire damage and effect by 5%, and its additional effect since patch 1.0.4, after applying a status effect, fire damage is increased by 50% for 10 seconds. This will affect Binary Star and our melee attack. For weapons, I'll be using the Avenging Herald, no surprise there, and my second weapon is a stat stick. It's equipped for its inscriptions, but I won't be firing it at all. Finally, my support ability is Quickening Field. On activation, it creates a field that increases gear recharge rate by 20% for 10 seconds for you and all allies that enter the area of effect. Alright, so we've got fire, ice, crazy defenses when our shields are dropped, and some nice increases to gear damage and recharge rate. This seems like it's going to be an exciting Storm build, but we can't judge it until we take it into the field for some testing. Alright folks, for today's testing we are doing a Grandmaster 3 Legendary Contract solo. This build has a lot of legendary components and weapons and gear in it, so I'm a little bit too strong for GM2 and I want to make sure to show off the capabilities in a reasonable way. I don't want to do any content that is trivial, so let's get ready for a challenge. Alright, for this first section we have to deal with some outlaws and collect some gear pieces. They're already starting to spawn. So let's get right into it. I'm taking a little bit of damage already. My health is at about 50%. First thing I'm going to do, send out that Living Flame and just enjoy the show. It's going to set enemies on fire, send out the Black Ice to freeze them, then we go in for a detonation with our melee. So go ahead and detonate that guy. We'll activate the quickening field to speed up our cooldowns a little bit. Send out another living flame. That guy's going to burn to death, but I may as well combo him anyway. Let's go and spread that burn to some other enemies, get another combo. Now my ultimate is ready, so all this comboing is not really doing all that much for me. So let's spend this so we can get a better idea of how much ultimate energy we are generating. All right. Getting 2 combos off a single ability cast. Going in again, we got the freeze, then go for the melee. Already our ultimate is at 50% charge, and it's just going to keep going up and up and up. Got more outlaws coming in. Just try and detonate as many of those combos as possible. Double dipping, the black ice freezing the target as we remove the burn status. Oh, I've bitten off more than I can chew. Let's pull away. That's something you got to be very, very careful of when you're using this build. Soften blows and Vanguard token. It's going to give you a very, very brief window of immunity. And in that window, you got to capitalize on it. Let's activate our ultimate so we don't die. You got to capitalize on that immunity window. You got to get the hell out of dodge. You got to run, make yourself safe, allow your shields to regenerate so you don't die. There we go. All right, here we go. For the next part of the contract, we have to rescue some freelancers from Scar captivity. And while I've got this Scar Enforcer isolated, I'm going to show off the rotation that I enjoy doing so much. Send out Living Flame, hit him with that black ice, go in for a melee, double detonation. It is so absolutely satisfying to hit enemies with 2 detonations back to back. Living Flame, set them on fire for the prime, black ice for the detonation. Typically they will get frozen from that. And then after they are frozen, you can go for a second detonation. So the ability to just move around very, very quickly and just keep comboing over and over and over again on multiple targets is so ridiculously satisfying. And the fact that on top of all that, we're dealing that bonus electric damage in a small area of effect every time we combo, it makes this build feel very, very powerful, very visceral, as opposed to the typical Storm that is a little bit more reserved, a little bit more subdued. We're just kind of floating around in the back and chilling. Going for that detonation, taking advantage of softened blows and the Vanguard's token, using that as my opportunity to get the hell out of dodge. My shield is very, very close to breaking. It's just right about at the breaking point. And there it goes. Let's pull away and allow myself to regroup and recharge. I never want to stay in the thick of the action and really challenge enemies with that invulnerability window. I just want to use it as an opportunity to escape, because honestly, sometimes shenanigans happen and I'll die even though I'm technically invulnerable. So I'm going to try and avoid that as much as possible. All right, now that we've rescued all of the freelancers, all we have to do is clear out the remaining hostiles, and that's going to be a little bit challenging because we've got a legendary Scar Hunter on the field and a bunch of scouts. It's a bit of a war zone out here, but that's okay. We'll send out the Living Flame. That's going to burn multiple targets, and then we can start doing our combos. Going for the melee right there on that guy. I'm going to let them break my shield, send out the flame again, then activate my ultimate. I was a little bit ballsy there. I had basically 0 hit points when I was doing that, but it was a risk. It was a calculated risk, we'll say. Now that ultimate not even going to kill the Scar Enforcers, but that's okay. Shield is going to break. We get another Living Flame out of that. Getting a little greedy with that black ice. Let's continue just rotating around the battlefield, allowing our shields to restore, trying to stay safe. Now, one thing that you can try to do when you're using the Token of the Daring is don't let your shields break unless your abilities are on cooldown. You can't always control that, but in order to milk the most out of the ability, you only want your shields to break when your abilities are on cooldown. That way you can kind of exploit the additional effects. Now, these Scar Hunters are a problem. dealing with them without an ultimate is going to take forever. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to beat on this Scar Enforcer and use him as a combo dummy. I'm just going to continuously hit him with abilities and combo and detonate until I get my ultimate, and then I will use that on the hunters. Oh, this is dangerous. I shouldn't have done that. There we go. We've got our ultimate. Let's use it while the hunter is grouped up with everybody. We're getting some big damage right now. It doesn't look like a lot, but this is Grandmaster 3, so every little bit, you just got to take what you can get. There we go. Oh, I don't want his shields to come back. Oh, he's burning, so his shields can't come back right now. This is perfect. Ooh, there we go. We got him. Okay. I got a little bit crazy for a second there, but we came out on top, and I'm pretty sure I've proven that this build is powerful. All right, before we close out, I just want to talk a little bit more about Living Flame and the value that it brings to your kit. I've mentioned this several times. It does not do a lot of damage on its initial impact, but it's that damage over time. We are ticking 6,000 damage every second, just bam, 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 tick, 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 and that adds up on a single target, adds up on multiple targets across the battlefield. So if you don't have a Colossus on your team to just smash them and detonate, they're going to take those ticks over time, and it's going to hurt them pretty good. If you do have a Colossus, they'll go in, they'll slam, they'll get a big detonation, and the target will probably die. But even if they don't die, the tick damage is going to finish them off. And there we go. That's going to do it for the build for today. This is the most exciting way that I've found to play the Storm. Just flying around, being quick and snappy, having extra defense while also having great offense. Super duper satisfying. And watching Living Flame crawl around the battlefield, burning everything in its path, there's nothing better, in my opinion. But with all of that said, we're going to wrap things up here. If you enjoyed this video and you'd like to support the channel more than you already do, just by liking, subscribing, watching, and commenting, you can head over to patreon.com/iBluairJgR to become a patron. As always, the name of the game is Anthem. The name of the channel is iBluairJgR. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.